Your 20s aren't what you think they are, that perfectly filtered path you see others taking. It's a highlight reel, not reality. Today, I'm sharing what actually matters, not what society says should matter. The greatest freedom of your 20s isn't having it all figured out. It's realizing nobody does. We're fed this narrative that success in your 20s means checking certain boxes by specific ages: graduate by 22, career by 23, relationship by 25, house by 28, kids by 30. But here's what's actually happening behind those Instagram posts. Most people are experimenting, failing, starting over, and feeling exactly like you do, uncertain. This isn't a bug in the system, it's the whole point. The difference between those who thrive in their 20s and those who merely survive isn't having perfect plans, it's embracing the uncertainty. I've talked with hundreds of people in their 30s and 40s about their 20s. The question I always ask, what do you wish you'd known? Nobody has ever said, I wish I'd had my life more figured out. Instead, they wish they'd worried less, experimented more, and understood that the winding path is the path. Think about it like this. Your 20s aren't the final performance, they're the dress rehearsal, where mistakes are both expected and valuable. So the first thing that actually matters in your 20s, unlearning the myth that you should have it all figured out. This single mindset shift will free you to explore, experiment, and evolve without the crushing pressure of perfection. This isn't going according to plan, isn't a failure state, it's literally the plan. We're all scrolling through perfectly curated lives, wondering why ours feels so unscripted. But behind those perfect posts, everyone's just figuring it out step by step. The secret club of 20-somethings includes everyone silently panicking about their life choices while nodding confidently in public. You're not alone in this beautiful chaos. Remember that sinking feeling when someone younger than you got promoted? Yeah, we need to talk about comparison, the fastest way to steal your joy. It's hilarious how we expect to have our entire future mapped out when half of us still aren't sure if we're loading the dishwasher correctly. Chapter 1. The Identity Laboratory. Your 20s are the ultimate identity laboratory. No other decade gives you this much freedom to experiment with who you are and who you might become. And contrary to popular belief, you should be running lots of experiments. Self-discovery isn't something that happens to you once. It's an active, ongoing process. And your 20s are prime time for this exploration. Think about it. You're independent enough to make your own choices, but flexible enough that these choices don't yet define your entire life. The goal isn't finding your one true self, but rather discovering the multiple versions of yourself that could exist. Every new experience, relationship, or environment reveals different facets of who you are. And contrary to what social media suggests, changing your mind isn't a character flaw. It's growth. Instead of asking, what should I do with my life? Which paralyzes with its enormity. Ask, what can I try next? Maybe it's taking a ceramics class that connects you to creativity you didn't know you had. Or traveling solo to a city where being completely anonymous lets you reinvent yourself temporarily. Or working in an industry that challenges your assumptions about what matters to you in a job. Each experiment gives you data about yourself. Not final answers, but valuable clues. So what actually matters in your 20s? Creating enough self-knowledge to make choices that align with who you actually are, not who you think you should be. The person who tries 10 different paths gathers more useful self-knowledge than the one who stays on a single path out of fear or obligation. We all know that person who's been in the same job since college and secretly wonders what else might have been possible. Don't let that become your story. The most interesting people in any room are almost always those who've taken unconventional paths, tried multiple careers, or lived in different places. Ever sat awake at night wondering, is this really what I want to be doing with my life? That question deserves exploration, not avoidance. We spend more time researching which TV show to watch next than we do researching potential career paths, and then wonder why we end up in jobs that make us feel like we're playing a character in someone else's script. Chapter 2, Relationship Economics. Here's a truth bomb. Not all relationships deserve equal investment. Your 20s are when you learn the hard but liberating lesson that relationship quality trumps quantity every single time. In your teens, friendships often form through proximity. Same school, same activities, same neighborhood. But your 20s introduce a new paradigm: intentional connection. This decade is when you discover the difference between convenience connections and soul connections. The people who energize you versus those who drain you. Those who celebrate your growth versus those who prefer you don't change. And most importantly, you will learn that maintaining quality relationships requires active investment. They don't just happen. Like any valuable investment, relationships have compound returns over time, but only if you're investing in the right ones. Think of your relationships like a portfolio. Some are high maintenance with low returns, while others require minimal maintenance, but yield incredible dividends of support, growth, and joy. The question isn't, how can I keep all these connections? But rather, which connections are worth cultivating deeply? That friend who always makes you feel better after talking? Investment. That group that leaves you emotionally exhausted? Divestment time. Your energy and time are finite resources. Allocate them to relationships that help both parties become better versions of themselves. What actually matters in your 20s isn't having the most impressive social circle. It's building a genuine support system with mutual growth at its core. The courage to outgrow relationships that no longer serve you creates space for connections that will sustain you through life's inevitable challenges. Quality connections aren't just nice to have, they're essential to well-being. We've all stayed in friendships or relationships past their expiration date, hoping things would change. The relief that comes from finally letting go is unmatched. Research consistently shows that strong social connections are better predictors of happiness and longevity than money, status, or even physical health. Remember scrolling through your contacts and realizing you haven't spoken to most of these people in years? That's not a failure, it's natural evolution. We'll spend hours debating whether to keep a $30 shirt we never wear, but hesitate to evaluate whether we should keep relationships that actively make us miserable. Marie Kondo would be appalled at our relationship closets. Chapter 3: Financial Foundations. Your bank account in your 20s might be small, but your financial decisions are disproportionately powerful. The money habits you form now will either become your greatest ally or your persistent nemesis for decades to come. Financial literacy isn't something most of us were taught in school. Yet, it's one of the most consequential skills in adulthood. Your 20s are the perfect time to build this foundation. Not because you have lots of money, but because you have time, the most powerful force in finance. The magic of compound interest means that small, consistent actions now create massive results later. It's not about getting rich quick or impressing others. It's about creating future freedom and options for yourself. The goal isn't deprivation, but intentionality, aligning your spending with what actually brings you lasting value rather than fleeting satisfaction. If you invest $200 monthly starting at age 25, by 65, you'll have about $650,000 at 8% average return. Wait until 35 to start, and you'll have only $295,000. That decade difference is worth over $350,000. The point isn't to never enjoy your money now. It's understanding that every dollar has potential energy. Creating simple systems, like automatic transfers to savings or investment accounts before you can spend, bypasses willpower entirely. Your 20s are for learning the difference between assets that grow in value and liabilities that drain your resources. What actually matters isn't how much you earn in your 20s. It's the money mindset you develop. Financial freedom isn't about wealth. It's about options, the ability to make life decisions based on what fulfills you rather than what simply pays the bills. The greatest investment isn't in stocks or crypto. It's in your financial education. We've all made that late-night impulse purchase that seemed essential, only to forget about it weeks later. Meanwhile, our future selves are silently begging us to invest that money instead. The wealth gap between those who understand compound interest and those who don't grows exponentially over time. creating drastically different life options by midlife. Remember that sinking feeling of checking your account balance after a weekend out? Financial peace comes from systems, not willpower. We'll watch a 2-hour YouTube video to save $5 on a purchase, but won't spend 20 minutes learning how our retirement accounts work, even though that knowledge is literally worth thousands. Chapter 4. The Health Investment. Your body in your 20s is like a reliable car that keeps running despite terrible maintenance. But don't be fooled, you're not invincible, you're just benefiting from factory settings that won't last forever. Youth creates the illusion of invincibility, but your 20s are actually when you're establishing the health baseline you'll return to for decades. Both physical and mental health habits formed now become your default programming. They get increasingly difficult to rewrite with each passing year. The goal isn't perfection or obsession, but rather intentional investment in your most valuable asset, your health. While the consequences of poor habits might not show up immediately, they're silently accumulating behind the scenes. Conversely, good habits are building resilience and capacity you'll draw on for life. Your future self is already thanking you for what you do today, or wishing you had started sooner. Regular movement, adequate sleep, stress management, and proper nutrition aren't just about looking good. They're fundamental inputs to your energy, mood, cognitive function, and disease prevention. Mental health deserves equal priority. Learning to recognize and process emotions, set boundaries, and seek help when needed are skills, not weaknesses. Starting a simple 5-minute daily meditation practice in your 20s could literally add years of mental clarity to your life. These investments don't require perfection. Consistency of imperfect action beats sporadic perfection every time. What actually matters isn't achieving some idealized body or never experiencing stress. It's building a foundation of health literacy and sustainable habits. The relationship you develop with your body and mind in your 20s will be one of your longest and most important relationships in life. Treat it with the care and attention it deserves. We all know that person who still eats like a college student in their 30s, but no longer bounces back the same way. Your metabolism is quietly taking notes on everything you do. Cultures with the longest lifespans don't obsess over health. They integrate movement, whole foods, and strong social connections as a natural part of daily life. Remember that first time you realized you couldn't stay out all night and feel normal the next day? Your body's beginning to give you feedback. Start listening. And hey, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Also, let me know your thoughts on what I just shared. Oh, and there's more. I've just started a Patreon to help support these videos and connect with you more directly. Check out the link in the description if you'd like to join. Chapter 5. Career Exploration. The question, what do you want to be when you grow up, assumes you need to be just one thing. But what if your career path isn't a straight line, but a fascinating constellation of experiences? The old career model, find a lane, stay in it for 40 years, get a gold watch, is as outdated as fax machines. Today's world rewards adaptability, diverse experiences, and specialized knowledge that can transfer across industries. Your 20s are the ideal time to explore multiple paths, develop transferable skills, and discover work that engages your natural strengths. Instead of focusing solely on job titles or status, prioritize learning environments where you can develop your capabilities while contributing real value. The biggest career mistake in your 20s isn't choosing the wrong path. It's staying on any path too long out of fear or inertia when it's clearly not right for you. Every job teaches you something valuable, even if it's just what you don't want in your next role. That sales position might develop communication skills that transfer to leadership. That startup experience might teach you more in 1 year than 5 years at a massive corporation. Instead of asking, is this my dream job? Ask, what can I learn here that will be valuable regardless of where I go next? The modern career is less about climbing a ladder and more about building a diverse portfolio of skills, experiences, and relationships. What actually matters in your career journey isn't finding the perfect job immediately. It's becoming increasingly clear about the intersection of what you're good at, what you enjoy, and what creates value for others. The clarity you gain through exploration now prevents decades of wondering, what if later? Your career is a marathon, not a sprint. Pace yourself accordingly. We've all sat in a job interview, trying to convince them we've always wanted this exact position, when really we just need money and experience. The real growth comes after getting in the door. The average person now has 12 jobs throughout their lifetime. Career exploration isn't failure. It's the new normal in our rapidly evolving economy. Ever felt that Sunday evening dread about returning to work? That's not just normal adulting. It's valuable data about your career fit. We spend more time researching restaurants for dinner than researching the companies where we'll spend 40 plus hours of our week for years. I'll have the soul-crushing environment with a side of micromanagement, please. Chapter 6. The Learning Mindset. Your formal education may have ended, but your real education is just beginning. The most valuable skill you can develop in your 20s isn't any specific expertise, it's learning how to learn. In a world changing at unprecedented speed, the ability to continuously learn, unlearn, and relearn is your greatest competitive advantage. Your 20s are when you transition from compulsory learning to self-directed learning, where curiosity, not curriculum, guides your education. This mindset shift from, I should know this already, to, I get to learn something new, transforms challenges from threats to opportunities. The goal isn't accumulating credentials, but developing intellectual flexibility that allows you to adapt to whatever comes next. In your 20s, your brain is still incredibly plastic and receptive to new information. Take full advantage of this biological window. Reading widely outside your field, taking online courses in areas that intrigue you, learning through podcasts on your commute. These aren't just hobbies. They're investments in your cognitive infrastructure. Deliberately seek knowledge that challenges your assumptions rather than merely confirming what you already believe. Ask questions when you don't understand instead of nodding along. Surround yourself with people who know things you don't and are willing to share their knowledge. The breadth of your learning now creates countless connection points for deeper expertise later. What actually matters isn't what you know right now. It's your capacity to learn whatever becomes necessary tomorrow. The humility to say, I don't know, but I can find out, is more valuable than confidently spouting outdated information. Your learning approach in your 20s sets the trajectory for intellectual growth or stagnation for decades to come. We've all nodded along in conversations pretending to understand something rather than asking questions. That momentary comfort costs us valuable learning opportunities. The most successful people across industries share one common trait. They never stop being voracious learners, regardless of their status or achievements. Remember that moment when you realized how much you didn't know about a topic you thought you understood. That uncomfortable awareness is the doorway to real growth. It's ironic that we graduate and say, we're done with learning, just as we enter the phase of life where everything becomes a pop quiz with real consequences. Adulthood, where the tests come before the lessons and the stakes keep getting higher. Chapter 7. Building Independence. Independence isn't just about paying your own bills. It's about developing the confidence to navigate life's complexities without constantly seeking external validation or direction. Your 20s mark the transition from depending on others to becoming someone others can depend on, including yourself. This independence isn't just financial, though that's important. It's emotional, intellectual, and practical. Learning to trust your own judgment, solve problems creatively, and recover from setbacks without constant support builds a self-reliance that becomes increasingly valuable with age. The goal isn't isolation, but interdependence, where your relationships are chosen from strength rather than maintained out of necessity. Every time you figure something out yourself, instead of immediately calling for help, you're building this vital life muscle. Practical independence comes from accumulating basic life skills, cooking nutritious meals, understanding how to maintain your living space, managing your schedule effectively, navigating transportation systems. Emotional independence means learning to regulate your own feelings without constant external validation. Financial independence starts with understanding your needs versus wants and creating systems to meet your basic requirements before adding luxuries. Each small victory, fixing something yourself, navigating a challenging situation, or making a tough decision, builds confidence that compounds over time. What actually matters in your 20s isn't achieving perfect independence overnight. It's embracing the sometimes uncomfortable process of becoming increasingly self sufficient. The challenges you face now are developing capabilities you'll rely on for life. Independence isn't the absence of support, it's the foundation that allows you to both give and receive support from a place of choice rather than necessity. We've all had that moment of panic when something breaks and our first instinct is to call someone else to fix it. The pride that comes from solving it yourself is uniquely satisfying. True adulthood doesn't arrive at a specific age. It emerges gradually through countless small decisions to take ownership of your life and choices. Remember the first time you successfully assembled furniture without help or navigated a foreign city alone. That quiet confidence stays with you. In our 20s, we oscillated wildly between feeling like we could run a small country and Googling how to know if chicken is fully cooked for the 15th time. The duality of emerging adulthood at its finest. Chapter 8. The Courage Curriculum. The most transformative moments of your 20s won't come from comfort. They'll come from courage. And contrary to popular belief, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. Your 20s present countless opportunities to build your courage muscle through intentional discomfort. Each time you step outside your comfort zone, whether socially, professionally, or personally, you expand your capacity for growth and resilience. The brain's natural tendency is to avoid discomfort, but the most meaningful growth happens just beyond that threshold of comfort. Courage isn't just for big life decisions, it's equally valuable in daily moments of truth. Speaking up when it would be easier to remain silent, trying something new when failure is possible, or being vulnerable when armor feels safer. These small acts of bravery compound into a life defined by conscious choice rather than avoidance. Start with small courage challenges, striking up conversations with strangers, sharing your ideas in meetings, or trying activities where you're a complete beginner. Then, gradually scale up to bigger challenges, negotiating a salary, traveling solo, or pursuing opportunities you feel slightly underqualified for. Research shows that confidence doesn't precede action, it follows it. You build courage by doing courageous things, not by waiting until you feel brave enough. The regrets people typically report later in life aren't about failures, they're about the chances never taken. What actually matters in your 20s isn't avoiding failure or discomfort. It's building a relationship with fear that doesn't give it decision-making power in your life. The courage you cultivate now determines the range of possibilities available to you later. A life guided by courage rather than comfort creates not just achievement, but character. We've all lain awake replaying that moment we didn't speak up or take a chance. The sting of those silent regrets often hurts longer than any rejection. Studies of the elderly consistently show that people regret the risks not taken far more than the ones that didn't work out as planned. Remember that time you almost didn't apply for something because you thought you weren't qualified enough? How many opportunities pass us by because of that voice? Our brains are fascinating. We'll convince ourselves that the known misery is safer than potential happiness, because at least the misery is familiar. Sure, this job is slowly crushing my soul, but what if I try something new and it crushes my soul differently? Chapter 9. The Compound Effect. The most powerful force shaping your life isn't luck or talent, it's the compound effect of your daily habits. And your 20s are when these patterns get encoded into your life's operating system. Small, consistent actions may seem insignificant in the moment, but they create dramatic results over time, for better or worse. Just as compound interest transforms modest savings into wealth, Compound habits transform ordinary routines into extraordinary outcomes. The challenge is that negative compounds work just as powerfully. Small negative habits repeated daily create significant downward trajectories. The magic and the challenge of your 20s is that you're establishing these patterns when the stakes feel low, but the long-term impact is immense. The daily choices that seem inconsequential, reading versus scrolling, saving versus spending, creating versus consuming, are actually defining your future trajectory with mathematical precision. Reading just 20 pages daily compounds to over 7,300 pages yearly, that's about 25 books that expand your thinking. A daily 30-minute walk compounds to 182 hours of movement yearly, transforming your health baseline. Writing 500 words daily compounds to 182,500 words yearly, 2 full-length books of personal expression. The compound effect works because consistency over time creates exponential rather than linear results. The question isn't, what massive change can I make today? But rather, what small improvement can I maintain consistently? What actually matters in your 20s isn't occasional heroic efforts, but rather the unglamorous daily disciplines that compound into remarkable results. The habits you normalize now will likely be with you for decades. Choose them intentionally. Your future reality is being built through today's seemingly small decisions, one day at a time. We've all watched someone transform their body, career, or finances through consistent effort while we looked for shortcuts. The person who started small but stayed consistent has lapped us multiple times. The most successful people rarely have dramatic origin stories. They simply did the right things consistently when no one was watching or validating them. Remember downloading that meditation app with grand intentions, using it twice, then forgetting about it? Small habits need systems, not motivation. It's amazing how we'll spend hours researching life hacks to save 5 minutes, while simultaneously avoiding the simple daily habits that would completely transform our lives in a year. Sure, I haven't started that savings account yet, but check out this folding technique that organizes my t-shirts in half the time. Chapter 10. The Long Game. Your 20s aren't the finish line. They're the starting blocks. And the most fulfilled people aren't those who win their 20s. They're the ones who use this decade to set up the long game. In a culture obsessed with immediate results, playing the long game is both radical and rewarding. Your 20s are about building the foundation and infrastructure for a fulfilling life journey, not just chasing quick wins or temporary validation. Some investments won't pay off immediately. Education that expands your thinking, relationships that challenge you to grow, or career moves that build capabilities rather than just your resume. These choices may seem counterintuitive when everyone else is optimizing for immediate rewards, but they create compounding advantages over time. The irony is that those focused exclusively on short-term wins often find themselves stuck in the same place years later, while those who played the long game have built momentum that propels them forward with increasing returns. What begins as a small advantage today becomes the defining advantage of tomorrow. What's rarely discussed is that playing the long game requires emotional resilience. You'll need to make peace with the discomfort of delayed gratification and the uncertainty of paths less traveled. You'll need to trust your own judgment when conventional wisdom pushes for quick results and visible achievements. The long game isn't just about career or finances. It applies equally to your health, relationships, and personal growth. Each area of life rewards those who can look beyond immediate convenience toward enduring fulfillment. Your 20s are the perfect time to ask yourself, am I making decisions that will expand or limit my future possibilities? The choices that feel momentarily uncomfortable now often create the most freedom and fulfillment later. Your future self is counting on you to make choices today that they'll thank you for tomorrow. Hey, productive people, I'm Peter, and I'm super excited to share something special with you. If you've been enjoying my content here, you're going to love what I've got over on my YouTube membership. By becoming a member, you'll unlock all the wonderful perks below. Get access to exclusive illustrations, full transcript release, polls for future videos, plus some fun surprises along the way. But it's more than just extra content. It's a way for you to directly support what I do. Your membership helps me keep creating, exploring new ideas, and bringing you even better content. So, if you're ready to take your support to the next level and be part of the inner circle, hit that join button below. I can't wait to see you there.